Welcome to the final episode of Fursuit Future, the science series where you and your fursona collide. So far, we've talked about genetic engineering, synthetic organs, and cybernetic parts, but why limit ourselves to just picking one? By utilizing all three techniques at once, using them each for what they're best at. Using three different flavors of sci-fi tech to become a Neapolitan-colored fox named Froyo is culturally effed. Engineering-wise, this isn't a bad idea. Gene therapy might be the best way to get your existing hair follicles to grow tiger fur. Custom-grown tiger claws might be the best way to get claws strong enough to climb with that allow for your existing sensory nerves to stay in place. This requires an additional engineering hurdle. All of your aftermarket parts will need to be designed for use together. If your super strong tiger legs bounce you along so hard that your cybernetic tail breaks, you're gonna miss half the fursuit rave. Likewise, we need to ensure the sum isn't any more dangerous than the parts separately. Your tiger gene mods shouldn't damage your vat-grown grafts, for example. As each of these technologies improves, we'd have to re-verify that it won't mess up other parts of your new anthrobod. After all, you might get upgrades as improvements become available. Another complexity is that your idea of a cool tiger body will be different from someone else's, so we'll need to verify the safety of not only one combination of technologies, but all possible configurations. The society-wide benefits of this sort of research would benefit anyone with multiple kinds of replacement parts. As we grow older, we might replace failing organs with a variety of methods. So knowing how they interact in healthy people first would make the field of medicine safer for someone in poor health. Having multiple options for each type of organ failure would help extend all of our lifespans considerably. By playing to the strengths of each of these technologies, we could produce better results than any one of them alone. But why stop at full-time furriness? After all, in the modern day, even the most devoted fursuiter wants to take the darn thing off now and again. Nobody wants sea otter fur in their saltwater taffy, so perhaps we'd do best to have a high-tech fursuit we can hang up at the end of the day. Turning into a sexy werewolf sounds cool and all, but maybe you'd also like your mom not to know. You know how parents can get about being a sexy werewolf, it's a little embarrassing. Enter the symbiont fursuit. It's all the stuff we've talked about, but in the traditional fursuit form factor, like a lupine mecha. You're on the inside, while the suit itself is doing the heavy lifting and relaying sensory information. Just hop in, and you're ready to howl at the moon. In theory, it would also be possible to use genetic manipulation, custom-grown organs, and cybernetics to construct a fursuit that's a living cyborg symbiont. Furry scientists describe this phenomenon as totally rad. Alright, let's crank up the sci-fi a little, even more. You could be a tiger on the weekends and change back into a human during the work week because tiger paws aren't very good for typing. That said, making the whole affair easily removable adds additional design challenges. So, to start off, let's look at how such a suit might work while it's on you. First, you need to keep it alive. Giving it the ability to process air and food would be impractical if it's supposed to also fit you inside. But luckily, you're already doing both of those things right now. So you'd probably have special ports installed that allow blood to flow to and from the fursuit symbiont. Next, you need to transmit nerve information. Nerve signal transmissions are more complex than blood transmission, but certainly not impossible. We'd need a system that converts nerve impulses into electronic signal. and then back into a nerve signal. This technology is already in use for people with spinal cord injuries, in some cases allowing them to regain the ability to walk. A fursuit symbiont would have musculature, so you would need to learn how to make it snarl or smile. But your brain is highly plastic and adaptable. You just need to practice in front of a mirror. We could speed this learning process up a lot if the fursuit's internal computer can guess what you're trying to do. This is easier for organs that have a direct analog, since it could detect you smiling and the fursuit would smile. You get it. The tail, on the other hand, would have to guess based on how you're moving, at least until your brain learns how to process signals from it. Again, not impossible. We used to be monkeys way back in the day. You'd also need a way to get olfactory and visual data into the brain. The fursuit symbiont would have scent receptors, ears, and eyes of its own, probably based on the animal species of inspiration, so that you could have a completely different experience. You'd probably breathe through the mouth and nose of the suit, which solves the problem of how to get air to pass through those scent receptors. The ears would need to transmit into your auditory nerves. You'd also need some kind of link from your visual cortex to the suits. While this sounds invasive, it means that for the first time in the fandom's history, someone could actually see out of their fursuit properly. Such a suit would also generate heat through metabolism in any electrical parts. So it would need to be constructed in a way that cools itself and the rest of your body. But wearing it is only half the design challenge. Your hot, swappable tiger bod also has to stay alive when you are not in it. It would need oxygen and nutrients constantly, so you're going to be giving up part of your closet to a life support mannequin. Make sure you warn your roommates. This would also be a good time for any batteries to recharge and computer software to update. Obviously, since the symbiont matches your blood type and is keyed to your particular neurology, lending someone your fursuit would be somewhere in between impossible and deadly. Fursuit symbionts are kind of like toothbrushes, not for sharing. Of course, there's nothing from stopping you from having more than one such fursuit, nor is there a reason not to design them to work from the same ports as, like, a robotic tail for casual wear. For all the added complexity, we get a few upsides. Having a furry body that you can take off if you want or need to makes this entire endeavor safer in a few ways. If some disease is going around that infects tigers, you might now be vulnerable. Being able to hang it up in your closet might also be useful if you want to fit into that cute dress that you got before you transformed. We're also not sure how people respond to having two radically different bodies they can change between. It could help people express themselves or feel ownership over their bodies. At the same time, it might cause strain on the old neurology that you're not evolved to handle. This would have to be carefully studied over a long time, so don't hold your breath. That said, being transformed back from, say, genetic manipulation would be an arduous and painful process, so a symbiont might be a better option because it allows people the freedom to change back and forth instead of committing forever to their new fursona body. We'd also have to address how society treats fursuit symbionts. For example, if someone damages your symbiont, is it property damage or assault on your person? You versus your stuff is pretty clear in the line of the law, so we'd need some new guidelines. On the plus side, since it would at most have to transmit muscle and sensory info, we'd have no reason to design it to be self-aware. So your mom won't go to jail for murder if she uses the wrong cleaning spray and kills your suit. As for it becoming self-aware spontaneously, that's pretty much in the realm of impossible, cheesy sci-fi movies. Science has shown it's actually pretty hard to grow a brain. I've been trying for years. Still haven't grown one. This technology wouldn't only have furry applications. Someone with a weakened immune system could use a much much simpler version to process oxygen without exposing themselves to germs. The reverse of the idea we have presented here. They could function as an AED. They could even be a stepping stone to engineering suits that would allow people to work in dangerous environments like the bottom of the sea, near a volcano, or on the surface of Mars. So what lessons can we draw from this? For one, literally transforming into an anthropomorphic animal isn't as impossible as you might think. For another, theorizing and researching this topic is not completely frivolous. You never know where scientific breakthroughs and advancements will come through, nor how many beneficial side effects they might have. Thank you for coming along on this strange, futuristic journey into the future of fursuiting. If you folks are interested in this topic, we can look into topics like how furries could be made from scratch, either from animals or AIs. I have been your host, Arrkay, and this has been Fursuit Futures on Culturally Eft. This series was written by Tempo with collaborative help from Nasi. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Culturally Eft on YouTube, and if you love our work, support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, gets you access to videos like this early. Thanks for watching.